Level 1, $0. You wake at 5:40 and there's no alarm. There hasn't been one in 4 years. The house is dark and quiet and nothing in it needs you. You make coffee anyway, at an hour that used to belong to a shift, and your body reaches for the old question before you're awake enough to stop it. How many days do I have? You know the exact number in your account. Not roughly exactly. 0.00, some months, $12, one month 37 cents, and the 37 cents was worse than nothing because it was small enough to be a joke. You've memorized the rhythm of the month. The third is money. The ninth is rent. By the 22nd, you stop checking because checking makes it real. You pump gas in increments. $14, never full. In the aisle, you pick up the good coffee and check a price you already know and set it back facing the wrong way, and the store brand goes in the cart. At the register, you have a system nobody taught you and everybody at Zero knows. The two things you need go on the belt first. The one you can live without goes last, so if the card declines, you lose the thing you already decided to lose. It's declined twice. Both times, the cashier's face did that small, kind thing that was worse than judgment. Your mother calls on a Sunday. She asks if you have anything set aside. You're sitting in the living room with the phone against your shoulder. A little, you say. You have nothing. You're not lying to protect yourself. You're lying to protect her because she's been here, and she'd hear it in your voice. That night, you don't lie there thinking about being rich. That's not the fantasy. The fantasy is smaller, and it embarrasses you. You want to walk into a store and buy something without knowing the number first. Level 2. $500. It happened by accident. A slow month, a refund, and then you got strange about spending it. $500 is 9 days. You counted. 9 days isn't safety, but it's 9 more than 0, and 0 was the entire architecture of your life until last month. The first thing that changes isn't your spending. It's your shoulders in the checkout line. You stop rehearsing the decline. You stop putting the third thing last. Then the test comes, because it always comes. A tire, $180. You pay it, and you feel something you don't have a word for. Not relief, more like watching a punch land on somebody else. That used to be a phone call, a bad week, a small humiliation you'd carry for a month. Level 3, $5,000, 2 months, 60 days you own outright, sitting there doing nothing, waiting for something to go wrong. It does. The transmission, $2,300, and the mechanic says the number the way a doctor delivers a diagnosis. Watching your face, because he can tell within a second which people are about to ask if there's a cheaper way. You don't flinch. You say okay. Driving home, you notice you're not shaking, and you understand why. A version of you spent 9 months not buying things he wanted, and that version is the one who just paid for this. He never got the good part. He did the boring part, quietly, so you could sit here right now and feel nothing. Level 4, $25,000, most of a year. That's not an emergency fund anymore. That's a door. And the strange thing about a door is you don't have to walk through it for it to change the room. Your manager says the thing he said for years in the tone he's always used, and for the first time you hear it differently. Not because you're quitting, because the sentence "I could leave" has become true, and a true sentence sits in your chest differently than a wish. A friend asks for $400. Here's what nobody warns you about. You have it. You can afford it easily. And you say no anyway, because you know what that $400 cost to make, and he's asking in the voice of someone who thinks it appeared. He's different with you after that. Slightly. Permanently. Level 5. $100,000. 6 figures with your name on it. You typed it into the calculator once, just to see the zeros lined up, then cleared it fast, like someone had walked into the room. A few years. Not a life. And that's where the fear you've carried since 19 finally loses its shape. It doesn't vanish. Something worse moves into the space it left. Now you're afraid of losing it. At 0, there was nothing to lose. That was the one mercy of 0. And nobody tells you it was a mercy until it's gone. And you start seeing the people around you. The pause before they order. The phone flipped face down at dinner. The quick laugh when the bill comes and everyone reaches at once. You used to be that math. You say nothing. You just see it now, the way you hear your own accent in a stranger's voice. Level 6. $500,000. You could buy a house outright in the town you grew up in. Not a nice one. A house. With money. Not a mortgage. You sit with that a long time because your parents rented for 19 years, and the word landlord was said in your childhood home the way other families said the name of an illness. A decade, if you're careful. And when a number gets big enough to be measured in decades, it stops being a bank account. It means if someone you love needs $30,000 on a Thursday, they get it on a Thursday, and nobody has to say the word loan. That's when you understand what money is for, and it isn't things. It's for absorbing. It's a body between your life and the next impact. Your mother asks again if you're saving. You say you're doing okay. You told her a number once, about a fifth of the real one. And she said, "Oh, good," and changed the subject, and you understood the truth would have made you a stranger to her level 7. $2 million. You do the withdrawal math on paper, because it feels like something that should be done on paper. 4%, 80,000 a year, forever, without the pile shrinking, which means you no longer need a job. Not this year, not ever, and you go to work on Monday. You tell yourself it's the people. Mostly it's that working has been the load-bearing wall of your identity since you were 16. And the question, who am I on a Tuesday, when nothing requires me to be anywhere, is more frightening than any number that ever declined at a register. The old friends surface, not the ones who stayed. The other ones. They don't ask how you are, they ask what you're in. Level 8, $10 million. Days stop being a useful unit. There aren't enough left in a life to spend it. You couldn't spend it if you tried. You know, because you tried a little, early on. The car, the watch, the trip. Each delivered about 4 days of feeling, and then went quiet, and then the car just sat in the driveway being a car. Nobody in your family says the number out loud. Not once, ever. It sits at the table anyway. And here's what you didn't expect. The fear didn't leave. It changed jobs. At 0, it was, will the card work? Here it's whether your kids will ever want anything badly enough to become somebody. Whether the man on the phone is a friend or a position. Whether you'd still be interesting to anyone with the number removed. Some mornings you wake early out of muscle memory. No alarm. There hasn't been one in years. Your body reaches for the old question, how many days do I have? And then remembers it doesn't apply. There's a hollow spot where that question used to live. It was a terrible question. It was also, for 20 years, the thing that got you out of bed. You stand in the kitchen at an hour that used to belong to a shift. The coffee goes cold because nothing is pulling you anywhere. And you think about the man at the register putting the third thing last. Somewhere right now, a 23-year-old is standing at a register with $63 in the account. He thinks this is a story about money. It isn't. It's a story about the gap between a person with no room around them and the same person with room. Same hands, same job, same 6 a.m., completely different man standing inside it. The balance compounds. So does the person watching it. $63, 3 things on the belt. $10 million starts there. It always has.